Alright boys, my name is FrozenGlx. Today we're gonna break down my new track, Witch Trials. Here's how it sounds like. Thank you to Gunsoww for letting me do this. Let's get into it. The most important thing about my track, in my opinion, is my reads. I started out with a basic serum patch. I pulled out random wavetable I had, and actually 2 wavetables I had. One is 5 voices, the other is 7. I detuned them, and I automated the wavetable position and the cutoff of it. Another really important thing about it is its post-processing on it. At first, I only used a hyper and some diode 2 distortion from serum itself, but I wasn't happy with the results. So after that, I EQ'd it, cut down the lows. You wouldn't hear them anyways, the very low end. Below 40 Hz, you're not gonna really hear it. And I boosted it, the low mids a bit. Also, I got some erosion. It's really important for the patch. Here's how it sounds like with everything on. Here's how it sounds like without erosion. Not much high end, it's not full spectrum. What it does, it essentially just puts some white noise on it that is really wide at a certain frequency and a certain width and a certain amount of it. And then I have some bit crushing on it, some downsampling and some bit reduction, very basic stuff. Then I have some ODD, which helps me compress down frequencies I don't want and make frequencies I like way louder. Here's what it sounds like without it and with. The high end is way cleaner. Also the mids are way punchier, way more prominent. After that, I have a very hard sidechain on it and some EQing where I get rid of frequencies I don't like. 100 something hertz, I didn't like the sound of it. And with Q2 I boosted 100 hertz more, and I got rid of a lot of high frequencies that come in when you slide it. After that, let's get in the main thing, the master. I have a secret sauce, obviously, like everyone. I've been using this for a long time. Really good alternative is Glitch 2 or just Shaper Box. I'm not using those, but together you can achieve literally the same thing. Or even Grow Speed and Glitch 2, depends if you know how to use them. I automated my halftime here in the master, just for the intro. I have distortion, bit crushing on it. Turning on how hard the bit reduction is and this downsampling, just automate it down. After that, the melodies. They're all serum patches. The main 2 are serum patches. Very simple, just automating the wavetable position, and I synced it. The other ones like this. This again has a lot of post-processing, some EQ, like everything. Again, Erosion with sign on it and a 3 kHz with a pretty high amount. More downsampling, OTT again, help me get rid of lows, way better, make everything cleaner, keep the highs and mids really heavy. A lot of sidechain, and that's kind of it here. Then I have Diva for the drop, for the second part of the drop. Again, basic EQ. Cleaning it up, cleaning the lows up, and sidechain. I sidechain everything. I have a really punchy kick. Then again, some basic EQ, just cleaning out the lows, and then sidechain. I sidechain everything to my kick. My kick is very punchy, very transient heavy. I'm not gonna lose punch on everything because I have so much OTD and so much distortion on everything. It's never gonna lose punch. This is just a lead patch coming with Diva. It's monophonic, 1 voice, slides it up, glides, really cool. Same here, another Diva patch, sounds very retro. It's a bass that I cut the lows off. Already really distorted out of the gate, really good, works a lot, works really well with the main melody. Then I have an arpeggio from Diva again. I made an arpeggio and a patch from Diva. Sounds like that. Then I have Simplant. Simplant is a really good organic synth. It randomly generates each patch Just like right click new seed and it makes something new, and then if you drag this wheel thingy, it's gonna change it for another thing. So if you keep it half, it has this really cool effect right here. Which just sounds like multiple synths just playing different notes. It kind of is that. Then I have another one. Alright, then I'm using my secret sauce to stutter shit or to just make transitions. And then here to transition to the second part of the song, second build up, the bridge, and the second drop. Also, I raised the bit crashing there. Let's go to the drums first. On the first part, they're just basic trap drums. Nothing really to them. My really punchy kick. An organic wood snare I made myself, layering a wood sound, a real snare, and another snare I made before. There, I just put a reverb on it. Default reverb from Ableton, just gymnasium reverb, no chorus, no nothing. And then some EQ, just to be sure it's clean because it had a bit of lows. Then more snares, a lot of layering. First snare has some erosion again and some distortion, transient shaping which makes it punch more, and more reverb with chorus on it, so it sounds really alien-like. Then you don't really hear the white snare, but you hear everything else. It's just a cool little element on top with chorus and reverb. Then just nothing, no processing on the other snares because they're good as they are. And the drums. Then I have loop from Akali's drum kit from Splice. I warped it in time using Ableton's really good feature. Then I have some rain. Some rain that I cleaned up with some EQ and again sidechain, very heavy sidechain for this one, everything, so it doesn't muddy up my track and it just fills in the blank spaces that the track has. Also, I have a reverse kick here that I stretch up a bit, make it punch harder and be way more distorted. Not like that, but it gives a really nice feel to the track. Get to the second part of the track. So for the transition, I used a lot of cymatics impacts, reverse them, and another cymatics impact that I distorted the master everything here. It goes well to the second part, which has different melodies, still in the same key of A sharp minor at 172 BPM. Here's just a violin with a light compression, and I clean it up using the imager. Just cleaning it up, not letting it be out of phase. A lot of people have the tracks out of phase. Basically, all you have to do is try to keep your track between this 45-degree angle and you're good to go. If you go toward after that, it's gonna sound really bad on mono, and even on headphones it's gonna be way too wide and not punchy enough. It's gonna be completely to the sides. And again, some more sidechain. I sidechain everything, yeah. EQ, basic stuff, compression. Sounds like this. Then there's a harpsichord, really old instrument, really like it, from like the medieval era or whatever. Just to fill in more frequencies. Then I have another serum patch, a lead that I pitch down. Very retro. They're all different melodies, different chords from the first part. This has more major chords, a lot of more dissonance. This makes everything more dramatic because the track is trying to portray a story. Then I have a harp.
Bars, homie.
Very basic stuff, just sounds really good. After that, I'm using Massive, my favorite VST of all time. I've used it ever since I started producing music back in 2012, and I still use it today. Really good. 2 patches, harps. Another harp I made, another pluck I made actually. It has some attack on it. Also some distortion. Then I'm using Massive X with some echo distortion and some more redux on it. EQ again and compression. Sounds like this. The drums here are different. They are using the pattern from the last part of the track, which is DMB essentially, and I'm using more percussion loops, and I'm still using the same noise throughout the whole track. Here I turned down diva melodies from the first part of the track that I also used here, and here I only use the top melody on this one from the ARP here, from the harp. That's why it looks like that. So it still has some touch of the first part of the melody with a different reeds, the same reeds, different pattern, and same chords. But it's still using the chords from here, so I'm trying to make them compatible with each other by still having these and turning them down, and having the new melodies here bring a new touch to the song and make it go from half time to full time. Also, the reeds itself, I go to the pattern, click here, and MIDI control, and I pitch bend it a lot in order to get the result I got. Along with the glides from the race itself, because I had Portamento on at 50 milliseconds, I'm still using the pitch bends to make it more dramatic and to make it sound better. After that, I have a transition to the next part of the song that I actually made as a separate track at first, still having the same idea from the first track, just trying to make an EP out of this track itself. I was going to make every drop be a separate track, but I meshed them together. So this was made 3 semitones up, and I pitched it down 3 semitones in order to be in the same key. Like at first I went to a different key to be more dramatic, more BMB, more fast pace. This originally was a serum patch. These are the bounce tracks from that. It's a serum patch with a sub. Here are some impacts that I chopped up because I didn't like them anymore, and a build up that I granulized using the FL granulizer inside Ableton because I bridged it. Sounds like that. The drop, again, it's resample into Ableton using a frequency shifter, OTT again, a lot of compressors, a lot of EQs, and drain delay without using a delay function on it. And I chopped it out afterwards in this pattern. Sounds like that. Second drop, a B section of drop as well. Here I used contact drums. Essentially real drums. Hats too are still contact, that's why they look like that. And then I layered it with the actual drums I'm using and have reverse kicks at some points. Then I use Synplant again with a different ARP from the first melody and the second one, just putting it in the build up here and at a drop, just making it louder as it goes. Again, stuttering stuff, really weird effects on top here. Again, at the master, let me show you guys how this works. So I have a glue compressor. You guys use soft clippers in FL Studio. Most of you use FL Studio. I'm using Ableton right now because I switched to it. So to get the same effect, I'm using a glue compressor, just getting the threshold down, making the makeup up, keeping up the soft clip on it. Then I have a TR5 classic clipper in which I boosted it a bit, have a really smooth slope, and got the output down to -1 dB. And then I have an ozone master with a vintage EQ, just pushing down the mids, cutting them a bit, and the highs. The compressor, vintage one, balanced one. It's a side compressor. It's a side EQ with a stereo compressor and an imager, in which I tried to keep the track in the 45-degree angle here because my track was extremely wide. I had to bring down some bands and bring up some others. Also, I stereoized it, which makes it more dynamic, makes it move a bit, pan a tiny little bit, image it, and it's at 3.9 milliseconds because that's what works. Here's how it sounds like without that. As you can hear, it's out of phase, doesn't really work, doesn't really sound good, doesn't sound bad per se, but it sounds way better when it's in phase, and it would sound really bad on mono. Also a maximizer just to limit it. I don't use limiters. I know most of you guys use limiters. I don't like limiters as much. I use maximizers. They essentially do the same thing, but keep the transients way better, in my opinion, at least the one in ozone. Threshold to make it louder and peak at 0 dB. And that's it, guys. Some other time. Thank you, Gunsoww, for letting me do this, and peace.